Do you want to know a little secret? You've all heard of metal, right? You've all heard of underground death metal. All these crazy people with the face paint, singing about Satan and death, killing and dying. So, you're pretty sure you know what it's all about, right? It's all a bunch of crazy Satanists, a bunch of lunatics out in their basements and in these crazy looking clubs where they sing and they kill and they die and they drink blood and they perform satanic rituals, right? Death metal, black metal, just metal in general is all about Satanism and Satan. Well, you're wrong. I got a little secret to reveal. We're not true Satanists. We're faking it. Just like my voice. It's all fake. But now, let me get to the point. And the point is much deeper than that. Metal started out in the garages with a bunch of teenagers just wanting to get raw and heavy and honest. And that's the key point. It's about absolute honesty. It's about the truth. It's about getting down to the ultimate truth about what life really is. And as I mentioned before, death is the essence of life. You can't escape life without, at some point, encountering death. So what evolved in metal, what a lot of these metalheads, early metalheads back in the 80s, they really started focusing. A lot of them were very well aware, well educated about philosophy, about psychology, human behavior, and they were very influenced by all that. But they looked around the world and they noticed that we still hide, we still pretend to live in a world where death isn't real, but it's this weird magical portal that takes you from this reality into another. And there's no evidence for that. So these teenagers, these kids, looked at the world and said, what the hell is wrong with all these people? Can't you see that all life dies? Can't you see that for life to live, you need something to die and decay in the earth? I mean, the earth without dead life in it is sand. That's right, the Sahara is the Sahara. It's a bunch of sand because there's no dead things in it. And all the earth would be a big desert if there weren't dead things in sand. What makes sand into soil is decayed bodies, is decayed plants, animals, and your bones too. And death is food for life. So death needs to exist for life to grow. And that's ultimately what death metal is all about, what black metal is all about. These early teenagers back in the 80s figured out that death is the essence of life, biologically speaking. Just read the lyrics of early Carcass albums. The guys from Carcass were the best at describing the biological process of dying and feeding the earth so that we can feed off the earth. We literally feed off the dead. We are zombies, and you don't even know it, because we eat the dead. Oh my god. Well, we are upside down zombies, because we eat the dead. But that's true. That's exactly how it works. We kill, and we eat the dead, and then we die, and we become fertilizer and food for everything else. And then, the next level of philosophy in death metal is much more complex, and that is the fear of death. We are driven by fear. Most people run. And here's the point, when you're afraid, most of the time, look at life, most situations in life, when you get scared, whether it's a dog chasing you and barking at you, or whether it's your boss frightening you with his bad attitude, when you run from fear, you lose. You want to win in life, don't run from fear. Face it, look at it, and go ahead into it. And do not be afraid of it. Do it smart, and do it focused. And that's what death metal is. That's what metal is all about. It's about looking at the fear of death, at the fear of God and Satan, and saying, I'm not afraid of you, Satan. I'm not afraid of you, God. I will stand up to you. And this is why death metal is so angry and so aggressive. Because it's stronger, it's angrier, it's more aggressive than death, than Satan, than God. It is facing up to these fears and not being overwhelmed by them, and then rationalizing them. What is death? What is God? What is Satan? When you start looking at it, you realize, especially when it comes to religion and Satanism, that it's all a goddamn fairy tale. That Satan's nothing more than the big bad wolf in the goddamn story of Little Red Riding Hood. I mean, even Jesus is a fucking Little Red Riding Hood. In some pictures, he doesn't have a fucking hood on his head. It's all a fucking fairy tale. And humans have taken these fairy tales literally. And they're afraid of them. And they're scared of them. And they build churches in their name. And they create terrorism. And they kill, all in fear of a fairy tale. It's insane. It is pure insanity. And this is why death metal is sane. And it is you, the rest of the world, that are insane because you don't get it. You kill out of fear. Where these guys in metal were the first humans in human history to really truly not be afraid of death and say, you know what, I will not run from death like running from a fucking barking dog. I will face it and I will crush it if I have to. Were these kids who started the metal scene. They looked at death, they looked at Satan, and they saw that death is real and you have to accept it, but don't run from it. Accept that if you fucking get angry, that if you get in a war, you will be cut, you will be torn, you will be shredded. So they sang songs about fighting in war and death and dying and being decapitated. If you are insane, if you are a madman, you will kill. And if you are the victim, you will be killed by a madman. So they sang songs about madman killers, serial killers, and so on. And they also looked at the human body, like Cannibal Corpse and Carcass and all these bands, and they realized that the human body is fragile. It can be killed, it can be cut, it can be hurt so easily. And they faced up to that and admitted it and faced the truth of that. And then they looked at God and religion, and they saw God as being a goofy little fairy in space, wearing robes, being all weird, and with an attitude, and a big old diva who gets all upset when things don't go his way, and he's all and that's what God is. And then they looked at Satan, and Satan was the resistor, the one who said, I'm not afraid, I'm not going to be overwhelmed, I'm not going to be controlled. So then they decided, as a game, to take on the persona of Satan, the resistor, the one who's not afraid, the one who does not turn and run away. And that is your basic premise of metal. It's satanic in the sense, in a philosophical sense, that we will not run from fear, we will not run from the great diva in the sky. We're not afraid of reality, and we know we are fragile, and we know we can die. But hey, that will happen, and I'm not going to worry about it until it happens. Until then, I'm going to live this life the best way that I can. And that is the essence of metal. That's why metal is not really satanic. It is cathartic. It is getting all your frustration, all your angry, and all the insanity, all the craziness of the world, and honestly just dishing it out and putting it out there and getting it out of your system so that you don't have to carry the burden of fear, of confusion, of stupidity with you all day long. So metal is a catharsis. It's a catharsis of all the insanity that is in the world today, and it is a truth of facing to the truth of what we are and where we're going. So now you know the other truth, the secret of satanic metal. Oh my God, I really feel the truth.